I need to look after myself. I'm not going to be a victim here. I'm going to, if anybody comes near me, I'm going to make them think twice for coming near me. So I kind of was lost in care. I was residential school, straight into the YOs, like 7.5 years at a young age. It was all about service for me. So my vision was to start something, because I couldn't resonate with the 12 steps or the fellowship, and I thought there must be loads of people like that, and they need to know thyself. Like, I was on to like how the brainwaves worked and how to reprogram our own subconscious mind, you know what I mean? So I was saying, like, for me it was, I had to subdue the negative thought patterns and behaviours for going out and running every day, going to the gym, changing my diet. But I go to jail after that. There was a woman who my ma used to go to, and she used to always say, John, go and see Jeanette, that was her name. And I used to say, off, Jeanette's half a rocker, I'm not going near her, do you know what I mean? She's staying clear of her. But one day I did go and see her, and I went and seen her, and it was like, I can't describe it, Sean. It was like, I always say it was, if you remember the tins of corned beef, and you used to do that and finger them open, it was like that happened to my head. Where we come from in the schemes and growing up running about crime, and we were in Pullman together at one stage, Sean, do you know what I mean? And you've got a certain, people expect you to be a certain way, do you know what I mean? But if you're stuck in that, you're not happy, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't see people being happy in that, do you know what I mean? The money's not the answer to everything, you know, like the materialistic stuff.
So, welcome to Social Sessions. Today we're joined by John McMillan. How you doing, John?
Good, bro,
John from Merkaba Crusades. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. It's good to be here. It's good to... I don't usually come on these types of platforms, Sean, but we go back a long way. I've known you since we were kids. We played football together, through the prison system together. Merkaba Crusades is just it's a passion of mine. It's more how we can change the narrative, how we can put in place a new world, basically, how we can condition our children for greatness, how we can show people how much power lies within them. But it's a crazy time to be here, bro. Do you know what I mean? And it's crazy. It's a crazy time to be here. That's
I'm sure we'll go into the crazy things later, but what I'll do, I'll just take you back, just your backstory, John, right? You just obviously go into as much as you want, right? But obviously, so you kind of grew up in, when I was growing up, you were always a kind of name that people kind of, you were well known, do you know what I mean? No, for probably great things, do you know what I mean? You had a bit of reputation for being violent and stuff like that, but you were always going well with you, do you know what I mean? You were always like brand new with me. How did that come about? I know you grew up in a rough area and stuff like that, and working class area, and Carbrain was kind of rough at the time, and there was gangs. So how was that, like, growing up in that?
Same as anybody, you know what I mean? It was good parents, but they suffered as well at the hands of the system, I believe, you know. I was more, for a young age, I was very reserved, Sean, right? I was very quiet and standoffish. And growing up in that environment, I turned to alcohol at a young age. So I was a child addict. You know what I mean? I started turning to drinking drugs, and I felt boisterous when I was full of drinking and jumping about the street. So I kind of got addicted to the street life. I was in care for a young age. So I had to learn how to defend myself. I made a decision at a very young age in these institutions that I need to look after myself. I'm not going to be a victim here. If anybody comes near me, I'm going to make them think twice for coming near me. So I kind of was lost in care. I was residential school, straight into the YOs, like 7.5 years at a young age, and then 5.5. It kind of just progressed for there. But growing up in the schemes, it was the same thing. I had to make sure I was surviving. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't going to let anybody walk over the top is, but it was never... I would never come on here and glorify violence, right? I wouldn't come on here and say I'm the big I am, or do you know what I mean? More for me, it was a defence mechanism. It was something that I felt at a young age. I'm not a daft guy. I wasn't a daft kid. I thought I need to make other people think twice of coming near me here. I need to stand out. I need to be violent. And that was kind of where it started. And then it was like you build up a reputation when you're in the schemes.
I think, John, like what you're saying is just the story of basically everybody. It's in we spoke about it earlier. Violence is in that kind of lifestyle. I know you can get addicted to it, but you can get addicted to anything. but it's because their awareness level's so low. These guys, especially coming in, you're going to the schemes. You may be going to school, and as we'll go in and speak about the schools later, but you're kind of maybe not enjoying school. Your nose, you don't want to be there. You'd rather be with your pals, and you're getting validated by exterior validation rather than because at school you don't even get taught about looking at yourself at all. Do you know what I mean, John? So was that kind of similar, like just with all the same people you were going to book with, just kind of like?
See, to be honest with you, I could never resonate with the schooling system. I knew
Aye.
there was something off at a young age. I rebelled against it. So that was the start of it, do you know what I mean? And I had family problems also,
Mhm.
but my parents breaking up at a young age affected me more than I thought at
Aye.
the time. But when I look back on it, it kind of destroyed my world. I rang with the addictions. I rang with trying to live my life through other people's expectations. As soon as I started getting a name for myself, I felt like I had to keep that up.
Aye.
I had to keep that going because I can't.
Because you put a target on yourself a wee bit
It's
for
like
other
a
people, don't you?
mask,
Aye,
bro. Do
of
you know what I
course.
mean?
Mhm.
It's like you need to put a mask on to
Mhm.
survive. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
aye.
that was kind of I couldn't resonate with it, so it was like a rebellion thing.
Mhm.
And then when I was in care, and it kind of just spiraled for there. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? But you don't know any better at that age. It's only when you get a bit older you see the wood for the trees. Do you know
I
what I
know.
mean? You can see the bigger picture. And now it's like the best. I couldn't ask for a better education. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? I look back on that and I'm so grateful for the hardships, the addiction problems, the trauma. I'm still trying to piece it all
Mhm.
together and I'm still trying to work in
Aye.
progress. Do you know what I mean? It's not an easy journey. Everybody's suffering in these schemes.
I know.
Everybody's suffering. Everybody's got this false persona. People who are involved in, and I'm no judge. I don't judge
No, I'm
anybody,
the same,
bro. Do you
John.
know
I
what I
know.
mean?
Aye.
Everybody
Mhm.
to their own. Wherever you are on your journey,
Mhm.
that's where you're supposed to be. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? But I wouldn't judge anybody for whatever type of thing they're involved
Aye.
in. But I know that a lot of people would want to just be themselves authentically and just live their life looking after their family. But I believe the system that's in place is stopping people from doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's no.
No, I agree with you, and obviously it's a class thing, and I think obviously like we'll talk like obviously what I say I can ask anybody this just to kind of highlight it. I like to highlight this, but see when you were in prison, John, did you ever get screened for trauma, or did you ever get screened? Did anybody ever come up and ask you how are you doing? Like what? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like how are you? Like did anybody ever come up and say that?
But I don't know if no, nobody came and approached us like that. But I was through the care system, so I was in secure units, residential
So you
school.
were kind
So
of
I
ready
was
for it.
ready
Aye.
for it.
Mhm.
I was ready for the system. I
Aye.
fitted the system like a glove.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because I knew a lot of people there. I knew I had to put that face on.
Aye.
But in my mind, it is like I can remember saying to myself the first like through the YOs and the first time I went to Pullman, I can remember saying I just got 7.5 years and I thought the first person that says anything to me, I need to make an example of them. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I need to be violent here. And that's exactly how it manifested. Do you know what I
Aye.
mean? But through the homes and through the secure units, I was in Care Law Secure.
I know. I can't imagine. I know.
And Care Law Secure was known for this paedophile
I
ring
know.
for people getting abused in
Mhm.
care. And the teacher who was in there was
Mhm.
my teacher. Do you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Matt George, his name was.
That's who. Oh God! Right.
So he was
That's
my
mental.
art teacher
That's
in there,
mental.
right?
Aye. Mhm.
But what happened in there is they picked their victims.
Mhm.
Nobody ever came near me, and years later, the police came to interview me
Mhm.
when I was lying up in Pullman to see if anything ever happened to me with this. With that, the only thing
Mhm.
that happened to me in there was a couple of punches about. They used to play like it was a big, long, narrow corridor, and there used to be like 4 or 5 staff, and they used to say run the gauntlet, and you used to have to try and run by all these staff, and they'd be fucking punching you, kicking you. That was the only thing that really
Madness.
happened to me in there, like
Aye.
physical. Do you know what I mean? But anything other than that never happened to me. But what I believe as well that it was vulnerable people who was getting targeted after
Aye.
these horrible bastards, basically. Do you know what I mean?
I think.
Um,
Sorry, but in John, like, we had like we've had like Davy Shaw in here, and that was like he was one of the victims of Matt George, and obviously he's been locked in a life of kind of addiction ever since. Do you know what I mean? And like big shout out to Davy, man. He's a cracking guy. Do you know what I mean? And it's a shame, but there was a report that recently that was released, and I can't remember what it was, but it was saying like because obviously you've been through all these places, John, right? And this is I try and expose this quite a lot. Because see, the prison system, I think the prison system's full of boys who were abused, right? And I think that they're then they're manifesting their trauma through violence and aggression and whatever. But there was they were saying like 70% and stuff like that. I mean, obviously you get boys like yourself and Johnny Steele and that who fight back, and that's just because you have grew up maybe a bit quicker and you're only scared. But a lot of people at 13, 14 are terrified.
Of
Do you know what I
course,
mean?
especially as a grown
Totally.
adult self. Do you know what I
Do you
mean?
And it's ruining people's lives. But I think it's like looking at it, the whole prison system as a man, it's a very hard thing to admit. And I think that's the problem. There's so many guys in there that are traumatized for whatever happened to them. Even physical abuse as a child.
Well
You're
done.
no safe. You've never felt safe. Do you know what I mean? So no, sorry for cutting you off, but I just like to highlight that because you would never treat a child that was abused sexually or physically in the manner that you would treat an addict at 25. But that addict at 25 still that wee boy inside.
It's
Just
all about
you know
it.
what I
It's
mean?
the trauma still lives with you. Some people are taking the trauma to their deathbed, they're
know.
dying with the trauma. There's nothing in place to get to the root problem, and that's the problem with addictions and things like that. I've been clean for nearly 9 years, and when
Aye.
I say clean, I've not took alcohol, I've not
Aye.
sniffed any gear, I've not took any prescription drugs, any Valium, but I've smoked weed on occasions. I've took DMT, I've took psilocybin, but I've never went back that way. But there's nothing, I believe, in place to help people with the root cause of the problem. The AA and the NA just don't cut it anymore. That's no cutting it. That's nearly 100 years old, and I know it helps a lot of people and it saved countless souls, right? But I believe it's a stepping stone. We're in an age where it's about self-discovery. It's about realising how much power lies within you. People need to be learning how to navigate this system, how to know the difference between legal and lawful. If you identify with your second name, then you're getting into contract as a piece of paper. You've gave all your rights away. Do you know what I mean? We need to teach our children that. That's why we're so traumatised. And trauma comes in, it's not just a trauma happening in my perception of this. It's what trauma happening in this lifetime is growing up as a child. This is generational trauma. It's getting passed down for our parents and our grandparents.
Definitely.
So the reason for that is the system that's in place. The system, we're right in the crossroads in it, where you can either know thyself energetically, lawfully, and know how to navigate through this third dimension, because that's where we are, and know how to navigate the law, because that's the rules of the realm, is know yourself lawfully. If you don't know that and you don't know thyself, you'll get into contract as this piece of paper. And if you don't know how to manage your own field, then you're relying on everybody to babysit you. So we're born into a Cesta KV trust, right? So you're the beneficiary of that trust. But if you identify with your second name, you become the trustee of the trust. So you're walking into a court, and what it is, it's about, you shouldn't walk into a court, the court's on the paperwork. So you should be establishing your role within that trust on the paperwork. But if you ever happen to find yourself in the court, you need to establish your role within that trust. Because in their game, the judge is the executor.
Enforcer.
He's the
Aye.
executor of the trust, and the PF is the beneficiary, and you're the trustee. So you need to follow the rules and the regulations, right? So knowing thyself, when you know yourself lawfully, you need to establish your living man and woman stand, and you need to put a thumbprint on your paperwork. You need to send it to whoever it is, because a living man can only contract with another living man or woman. A living man and woman can only contract with another living man and woman. A corporate fiction can only contract with another corporation, right? So it's about awareness, bro. People need to know how powerful they are and the power that lies within them. And that's a lot of the problem why we're getting people in the system. Because people are traumatised for this system. Do you know what I mean? People stuck in care, and it's just leading on. I feel so blessed, Sean, right, that I've got myself out of that. I'm honestly, sometimes I think, how the fuck, that's not me. I can't believe that I've had two lives within the one life, like growing up and involved in all that. Know that I'm glorifying violence, but I was ruthless with it. Do you know what I mean?
John, your name is always like one of the as the most well known, and when I was growing up, do you know what I mean? Like it was, but it's, and obviously we always go in because we played football and blah blah blah. But you did have that name for that kind of, and obviously you just disappeared. I remember, like, you just kind of disappeared, and obviously that was your journey into that kind of system. Do you know what I mean? So no, it's like there's I know you're not glorifying it, but there's no taking away that you lived a very kind of, as you say, as a child addict, child kind of the trauma and all the violence that you seen as a kid and probably were involved in. Do you know what I mean?
And as you said, it's not nothing to glorify.
No,
I'm not
not at
proud
all.
of some of the things I had today, but for me, that was my defence mechanism. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got family members who were involved in crime for a long time, even giving me heroin when I was a wee guy. So that I didn't have great role models. My parents were brilliant parents. They done the best they could for us. But I believe it's about awareness.
That is.
See now I say to my ma, see if you know now what you knew then, or I can't even get that out. See
Aye,
if you
no, aye.
knew then what you know now, sorry,
Aye.
would you put me into school? And she's like, not a chance, not a chance, because what the school's doing is the school's conditioning you and condition our children, conditioning us to be an employee in their system. So you're going to work, you're paying your taxes, you're doing all the things you need to do, but that's you as a person, right? So I'm passionate, Sean, about making a change here, and I always say that I would rather die for promoting freedom for us and our next generation than living as a slave in this system any longer. And some people are like, what can we do to change that? It's so vast, you know what I mean?
I know Tommy Sheridan said, a good quote, he said, "What can I do?" said 1 million people. Do you know what I mean? Like,
That's so true. Aye.
and it's the way he said it, and I'm like, do you know what I mean? That's like,
So true. Do you know what I mean? People just,
I know.
sometimes I go in their lives on TikTok, and I used to do it a lot more when I was there in Tenerife. I kind of came off social media, and I thought I need to realign myself here. A few years ago, when I moved back up the road, I had a vision to. It was all about service for me. So my vision was to start something, because I couldn't resonate with the 12 steps or the fellowship, and I thought there must be loads of people like that, and they need to know thyself. Like, I was on to like how the brainwaves worked and how to reprogram our own subconscious mind. You know what I mean? So I was saying, like, for me, it was, I had to subdue the negative thought patterns and behaviours for going out and running every day, going to the gym, changing my diet. I've never been like, and I've never been a religious person, right? But I believe that the power lies within us, and we can't rely on any outside source to come and fix us. So for the NA and the A, we spoke about it earlier, with the A and the NA, it's like you're giving your power to these people. You know what I mean? You're getting in there and you're saying, hi, my name's John, I am an addict. Like, you're powerless to overcome this on your own, and you have a disease. I just couldn't resonate with that. So I had it in my mind to start something, and I was aware of how the law worked, because I used to use it. I used it on a couple of occasions for just to get us out of trouble. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can remember doing in Torquay, somebody kicked my door in and stabbed us in the horn, tried to rob us, I think. And I kicked him out the door, and I've cost the guy, and then I've got a boot done. And the police were outside at this time, and they've pulled us, and I used, if they say, can we have your name? And I've said, am I obliged to answer your questions? He kind of that way. So I kind of used it to get myself out of sticky situations. But the more time went on, and I started learning or knowing how the law worked and realising the deception that's been played on us, it's not about talking about it anymore.
It's weird, I know, John, because I'd done a law degree, right? And it's like, just listening to you before the podcast was dead interesting. I've never heard it put like that. And I've studied law. Do you know what I mean? So,
but they're not going to tell you
no,
that.
no.
Do you know, when you're going to college, university, that's institutionalised.
But it makes sense what you said.
It's so true, bro. Like, we need to, it's about knowing thyself lawfully. Where do you stand in law? What's your jurisdiction? If you're going to identify as your second name, and the guy who came up with the registration, his name was Edward Manuel House, and he was known for saying this to Woodrow Wilson, the president of the America at the time, because he was known for saying not 1 in a million people will work this out. You know what I mean? And if they do, we'll need to head for the hills. That was kind of his statement in that. And it's so true, because if this was, everybody realised the deception that's been played on us, we would take back control of this in an instant. Do you know what I mean?
I say it all the time, and it's not quite the same, but I just say, like, you imagine, like, even 1 million, 2 million working class people down tooled for a week. Like, they would need to, they couldn't, but what it is we're stuck in a position, because even myself, if that Kate, I've got 2 wains, and I'm like, they come first, and I'm in this system where I believe a lot of this stuff, John, and I'm on the board with a lot of it. But I'm in this, and I'm like, they're come first, and I need to, you know what I mean? I need money for them. I need this, and it's like, so though I know the
You're
programming's so
still,
strong that
aye.
yeah, do you know what I mean? It's mental, but so see if I can just take you back to like obviously like your last kind of prison sentence, right? When was it? Was it then that you started reading books, or was it like
Um, so I got out in 2008, right? And this is what happened with us. It was like I had an awakening, like I had this veil being lifted. But I go to jail after that. There was a woman who my ma used to go to, and she used to always say, "John, go and see Jeanette." That was her
mhm,
name, and I used to say, "Fuck off, Jeanette's half a rocker. I'm not going near her." Do you know
aye,
what I mean?
aye,
She's staying clear of her.
aye,
But one day, I did go and see her, and I went and seen her, and it was like I can't describe it, Sean. It was like I always say it was. If you remember the tins of corned beef, and you
aye,
used to do that and finger them open.
aye,
It was like that happened to my head when
aye,
she was doing like a healing thing on us, and I was very unsure of it. Do you know what I mean?
aye,
And I've never been religious. I've never been God things, anything like that. Do you know
aye.
what I mean? And I went to this woman this night, and she done that. I left the house that night, and I went straight for a bottle of vodka. I stole a car, and I tried to drive to Torquay and took a 20-mile chase on the M6. But I got to jail in Preston, right?
Aye.
And that's when I go to jail down south. But it was like I wasn't the same guy after that. It done something to me. So
Think that scared you maybe, and you've went
I don't
because of the
know, I
bottle of
can't,
vodka. Do you know what I
honestly,
mean? Like,
but I was still trapped in the addiction side of
mhm,
things. But I'd just got out of jail. I was fighting with my brother. It was just carnage. Everywhere I
aye,
went, it was just carnage.
aye,
So I decided to go and see this woman. And looking back on it, I can pinpoint it to that was something shifted in me. I was sick of the lifestyle I was
mhm,
living, and I knew something had to change. You know what I mean? But I go to jail that time. I got another 5.5 years down there. But I was different in the jail this time. I started going to education. I started doing things that I wouldn't usually do.
aye,
Like,
aye,
I was like, do you know what I mean? Like, I still had a subby habit and all that. Like, I
aye,
ended up with a bad subby habit in the prison in that system down in Accrington at the time. But I was reading books a lot. I was more aware of. Like, I was starting to realise
mhm.
the deception. Do you know what I mean? I
What
started.
type of books were you reading, Joy? Because obviously, like the first one I read was a book called The Celestine Prophecy. I don't know if you've read that.
No,
Celestine Prophecy was the first one, and then it kind of led me into like Power Now and Eckhart Tolle stuff, and then I did read Sadhguru. I don't know if you know
I
Sadhguru.
know. I've heard this sad good. I've never read any of the
So he's
books.
got a book called Inner Engineering. I think you'd
Right.
find it really interesting, and it's all about how when he transcended and how he talks a lot about kind of similar stuff that you're talking. But obviously, he's I don't know. I mean, he's no religious at all, and I don't even think he's like Hindu or anything. But he does talk about the gods and that there. But he's if you read his book, it's all about kind of aligning yourself and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But it was too much for me to start. I'd love to read it again. Do you know
Aye.
what I mean? But it was too much for me at the time. I was like, I was reading it and I was like, oh my god, like I was getting stuff off it, but I wasn't. It was
Aye.
too
Was
much. I
it a
was in
bit?
Cass
Was it
Huntly
a
and I
bit
just
too much
died.
to take in at
See
the
what you're saying?
time?
He's going away out into the middle of nowhere, like into the kind of nature, sit, like wait till the sun sets and all. It's all about energy, and
Mhm.
then building it. It was mad, but it made sense to me. Do you know what I
Aye.
mean? Like I could see where.
I used to listen to some of his stuff
Aye,
until I realised that he was on the same side with Trump and all that. Do you know what I
he's got
mean?
a
And
big, massive
so,
hang into a big,
I
massive.
don't trust any of
Aye,
them. Do you know
I
what I
know.
mean? It's like, well, it's a touchy subject when you go into the Trump thing. Do you know what I mean? But I'll go back to what you're saying.
Aye,
I'm not sure. I can't really remember what books at that time. I think I read. I was more people call it conspiracy type of things
mhm,
because there was the Twin Towers at the time
aye,
happened, and I was always aware that something was wrong in your system. So
mhm,
I think I watched Fahrenheit 9/11. I
aye.
watched the Loose
Loose
Change,
change was
things
good.
like
Aye,
that. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
And it kind of led us down that path, knowing that there was a big deception that we weren't
mhm,
aware of. Then I started getting. You heard of John Harris before?
mhm,
John Harris was one of the first ones I came across
aye,
law wise, but that was a few years down the line. But I knew the system was back to front. It was twisted
mhm,
upside down. Um, but I like 2008, then I get back out of jail 2011, and I decided to move down to Torquay, and I was trying to run away from myself, Sean. So
mhm,
I was blaming everybody and everything for my problems, and I took all my problems down there with, and it
aye,
was worse than ever. My addiction was off the chart.
aye,
My mental health was off the chart. Um, but today, 2025. I'm more focused on becoming the best version of myself. Unlearning still to this day is like trying to piece the jigsaw together.
Mm-hmm.
And a path of self-discovery, I try and say, do you know what I mean? And I'm passionate about making a change in this life, and I've tried to organise events in the past, like-minded people to come to these retreats and things like that, and we're doing good with it.
Mm-hmm.
People, it was life-changing for some people, do you know what I
I
mean?
met a lassie on holiday. Donna, Donna says that she like changed her life, and she's still doing amazing.
Aye,
And she was talking about saying she went to one of the retreats, and she says it's like life changing for her.
brother.
And it was mad because it was like one of the ones on holiday. I just went to Gran Canaria, and it was, she said, like, she met, it was, you know, that way you just end up, it's everything synced into it. But that was in Tenerife, is that right? Like, so did you?
So I went to Tenerife there because I was when I moved back up there, I was trying to wake my family up. I was telling them they all thought, John, we're worried about you here.
Aye,
They're saying, but you're going to end up getting sections. You need to be careful
aye.
here. And this was years before all this stuff came out. So this was like 2016, just when I started getting clean. The first year of me getting clean, it was like I've spent a full year in solitude, Sean. Right? I moved back down to Torquay after we spoke about
Mm-hmm.
Alex Black,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll always be grateful for that guy because he kind of started this path for me.
Mm-hmm.
So he pulled me out of dark hole.
Aye.
You know what I mean? He showed us. He pulled me out of dark hole. You know what I mean? That's the best way I can describe that. Without that, it was like a divine intervention. He came into my life, and then he took me to my first meeting. Then I moved back down south then, and I was on this path since then. Do you know what I mean? I've been on this path since then.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot what I was saying there.
I know, we were just talking about like going when it happened. Then you went to Tenerife. The
So,
kind of thing you started.
when I moved back up the road, I was trying to wake my family up for doing there because like I had a download and I was aware all this stuff's going to happen, and they were all like, "What are you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about." So I thought I need to move back up there, and I left Cumbernauld for a reason. I didn't want, know that I had any bad enemies or anything. I
Aye.
had something to run away from. I just couldn't resonate with the place, so I moved down there. But I decided to come back up there to wake my family up. I can remember thinking down there one day, like, I need to get back up there here. So I moved up in a split second. It's like spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
One day I'm there, the next day I'm packing my car and driving up for Torquay.
Aye.
And I went round all their doors. So I started going round all their doors, and I was like, you need to look at this. This is fucking real. They're gonna start inoculating us all. And they're all like, you're no right. What's the matter with you? Leave the house. Do you know what I
Aye.
mean? But when it all started kicking in, they were saying, he's been saying this to us for years now.
Aye.
So, and I still had this vision, Alpha Zeta Fitness, and it was called Zeta Waves at the time, Alpha Zeta Fitness,
Aye,
like a bit of
aye.
service and retreats and programs. But after going round all the doors, we started doing the retreats. I was emotionally drained, so I went up to the islands, the Outer Hebrides, and I spent a few months up there. And then I came back down, and that's when we started up Merkaba Crusades, started getting in front of the camera more than anything else, and we were putting things together, helping people in the local community, cold water therapies, people who were suffering from addiction problems, and we were all meeting up there, and everybody was thriving at it, do you know what I mean? But I was trying to help everybody else, Sean, apart from helping from myself, so I started finding myself going down a slippery road again,
Aye.
dark. So I went on holiday for Tenerife. I went on holiday to Tenerife, and I thought, I'm just going to hang tight here and dig the heels in. So I was there for nearly 2 years there. And it was the best thing I'd done. It was just about realigning myself. But I'm back. I thought I need to get back there and finish what I started, basically. And it is about service for me, bro. It's not about feeding my ego. It's not, I don't
Aye.
care what people think of me. You know what I mean? I'm being my authentic self. People can either like it or fuck off. You know what I
Aye,
mean? I'm no arrogant with it, but you're not going to get on with everybody. Do you know what I mean? In this
No.
day and age, it's about, I believe our purpose is to be yourself. You either resonate with it or it's going to repel you. You're going to get triggered by it, right? So my main thing is to try and put something in place to help the next generation now. So I'm focusing on private education associations. A lot of people they're concerned, to say the least, about what's happening in the schools. So if you're putting your kid into a public school, you're going to get a government funded education, right? So all the things that come along with that. Even Starmer recently has put in passed an act that you won't be able to go to the school and say what he's teaching my child. They're not going to tell you that, right? So that's concerning. You know what I mean? Like, and people are working 2-3 jobs now to try and keep up with the economy, to try and keep up with the cost of living. So the school's like a babysitting service for them. They can't. They say, well, I need to put my kid into school. because I need to go to work. So
Mhm.
it's like they're caught between a rock and a hard place, innit? Do you know what I mean? And as much as you were saying, you've got kids yourself, do you know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? And it's like, when do we break the cycle? When do we realise, right, we need to start creating the communities ourselves? We need to pull our kids out of schools. We need to teach people how to navigate the law properly, even how to use the straw man, like Lex Mercatoria, law merchant, how to use the bills of exchange, the commercial instruments, because you can navigate through it that way.
Mhm.
Everything's already paid for. It's all paid for. You go for a mortgage, it's paid for, so they double dip you, the bank. So then they say sign at the cross, bang. Then they're double dipping you. You're liable to pay another 30 years mortgage. So because of your signature, your sign nature,
Mortgage actually means debt for
death
life.
pledge, death
Aye,
pledge.
aye, aye, aye,
Do you know?
aye.
And
It's mad, isn't it? It's
it's
mental.
mental, bro.
But I think like, obviously we'll look at kind of politics in the right, and obviously how you see that, John, because obviously it's quite interesting what's happening in the new right when we've got this left wing, right wing narrative, right? And I don't believe there is a left wing, right wing the way it used to be. Like the left wing to me years ago was a strong, like, social welfare system that kind of looked after people that needed it, maybe like people that were disabilities, people that maybe couldn't work, people that maybe were traumatized and didn't have a place in a workplace. Do you know what I mean? This is what it was for. No, I'm not saying there wasn't people abusing that system. It's always going to get, any system's going to get abused. Look what Donald Trump just done the other day, like with that. I mean, that's abuse of power. So, any system's going to get abused, right? The right wing, this is where it goes mental for me. Right wing means get rid of all that, ditch all that, privatise it, privatise everything, privatise your jails, privatise your hospitals. So see people that are buying into this narrative of right wing just because it's anti-immigration. I'm not saying there's no a point there, right? There is a point. Like, I can see people why they're concerned. All these people coming out, and maybe their man, dads, or whatever are sitting in care homes and not getting the right care and stuff. But where would you align yourself,
I
John?
wouldn't align myself with anything to do with politics. I think
Aye.
it's a psychological warfare tactic that's played to divide and conquer, the same as religion.
Aye.
Politics to me is a psyops, right? So there's left wing, right wing, and knowing. So you know thyself, you know yourself lawfully. You don't get involved in all that shit. You don't. You shouldn't begin your power to these people, because we're the rulers of the realm here. They govern by consent. And they govern, it's the same as the police. They govern by consent, so they need your consent. What does the police do to you when they come and see you? What's your name and your date of birth? What's your second name and your date of birth? Because as soon as you give them that, you're getting into contract as a citizen and on the citizenship. So you're on a ship, right? So you'll know it's the maritime admiral law. You walk into a court, it's shaped like a dock, right? So me with politics is I've never even had an interest in it. I've always just, people say politics is the elites laugh. That's entertainment for the elites, because they're like, how can these goyim be? You know what I mean? To believe that they say it's the left wing and the right wing of the same bird. So
Well, a bird can't, we say that often, a bird can't fly, and it needs the left and the right to be balanced.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? For it to fly, do you know what I mean?
I've no. It's the same with the Tommy Robinson situation. Stephen Yakesley Lennon, right? He's inciting hatred for me up and down the country. I can see people want a saviour. People want somebody to come and fix all their problems and put all the right infrastructure in place for their kids and their family to live happily ever after. But a reality check's needed. That's never going to happen. You need to know thyself, and you need to know how this stuff works. And we need to come together and unite together and
Definitely.
start putting the right things in place for our kids, and teach them all the things we never got taught. Because then they won't be in the same fucking situations as we're all in. Mental health off the charts, trauma. We spoke about it there when we were outside. There's like the stuff you've been through. You know what I mean? All that for all the years. It's like, I'm so proud of you, big man, the way
No,
you've come out and done that. Do you know what I mean?
cheers,
You've actually you've transmuted all that energy, all that emotion. Do you know what I mean? All the years lying in there, knowing that you're here for nothing, bro. Do you know what I mean? But maybe be easily accept it if that was the case that you've done that, but you've fucking transmuted that and you've created a platform for people to come on and speak their truth. Do you know what I mean? And you need
Aye.
to admire that, bro. Do you know what I mean? But you're still trying to piece it all together yourself, like the
Definitely,
trauma thing. And I'm the same. I'm never, out to the day I die, I'm going to still be learning. And I think that's what all is. And people think that they read a book and they've got all this stuff worked out and they're the guru now and they start monetizing and putting courses in place. I'm always one for saying, the only thing I would love to do is lead you to yourself, lead you to knowing how this stuff actually works, how the law side of it works, because that's the most important thing here for me, is as soon as you know thyself lawfully and you're no contracting into their game, it's all an offer. It's like I follow a wee guy now, he's called In Power Movement, right? He's called Carol Washington, and what he's doing with the smart meters now is off the charts, do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable. It's like everything's an offer to contract. So he's saying that he's focusing on like 5G, he's focusing on like smart meters, chemtrails, all these things, like the most important things, right? And he's saying like a notice of conditional acceptance, right? So I'll take the smart meter in my house, of course I will, on this condition. But you need to write this in paper so they're aware of it. Because if you don't know thyself and play the game lawfully, then you're just, it's called tacit agreement. So you're contracting to that, where I just throw the letters in the bin. Well, you're going into contract then, because it's called tacit agreement. Even your silence, acquiescence. So it's agreement with it, do you know what I mean? So it's about playing the game. The court is on the paper, and what he's doing is revolutionary, you know? And it's like people like that are the real heroes for me. People who are coming up with the solutions. Like, not just standing in the street and talking about the legal fiction and getting there about it. We know all that. It's like, how we changing that now? How we coming together and actually putting these things in place so we can guide our next generation to knowing this stuff, rather than getting caught up in this illusion that somebody's going to come and fix them. Because these people who are running the realm now, they're playing people like puppets. Do you know what I mean? And they've got control of everything. And it's like what's happening in this country now, moving forward, it's going to be an uproar. That's what I can see coming. As soon as Tommy Robinson gets out of jail, then it's like a cauldron, a pressure cooker ready to explode. And one fucking flick, and everybody's up and down this country rioting, and then bang, martial law kicks in. They put everybody behind their door again. But that only applies to a person. That only applies to somebody who's identifying with a second name, because you're getting all your rights away. You're government property. Your kid's government property. You know what I mean? When you're getting your kid registering your children, then you're giving ownership to the government. So if you're not behaving like I wasn't when I was a kid, I was bang, you're in care now. But I can remember seeing something years ago, and this lassie had 3 kids. The 3 kids got took off her, but one of them wasn't registered, and they had to bring the kid back to her. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not their property, it's our property. And I believe personally, it's about aha moments and awareness. As soon as we start realising that in a soul level, and in a conscious level, that we can say, right, this is where the fight is here. We need to create private education, private health, and private members. You know what I mean? And what I've started there, Sean, is I started taking my 2 nephews a couple of days a week, and I've got a whiteboard in the house, right? So I'm teaching them about good food and bad food. McDonald's, don't go near McDonald's, it's poison. You say to my wee nephew, do you want McDonald's? You're like, McDonald's, that's poison, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, brilliant. He went to a party last week, right? A wee kids party, and they ordered a big massive McDonald's for all the children, and he's like, I'm not eating it. He was the only one that didn't eat the McDonald's. I was like, proud of you, wee man. I'm saying, do you want to be a slave, or do you want to be a warrior? Continue being a warrior? I want to be a warrior. I'm saying, you're a warrior of the Most High to the both of them, do you know what I mean? And I'm teaching them about, like, the good police and the bad police. Who's the police officer, good or bad? And he'll say, bad. He works for the banks. He's there to steal all our money. The policeman or the police constable, he's the good one. He's there to protect your property. So teaching them this at that age, you know what I mean? It's see the amount they can take in. It's off the charts, bro. Do you know what I mean? It's talking about parasites. People are not aware of parasites and the damage they're doing to us. These wee hookworms, tapeworms, it's called helminths, protozoa, and there's another type of them, like ectoparasites, the ones like lice and all that. But the internal ones, they say that it's like a big high percentage, 90 odd % are cancers and tumours is all to do with parasites, microparasites. And that's what I was saying to you about the chlorine dioxide.
Aye.
That just obliterates them, do you know what I mean? Rife machine, Rife treatment, frequency healing treatment. So these things it's taking control of your health yourself. We can't rely on doctors. We can't rely on a doctor these days, bro.
Look at the way like doctors like that what they do is, and listen, I've nothing against doctors. They don't. They're part. Some of them are unaware and they're sitting. But
Agree.
doctors are there to you go in and say, I feel this, I feel that. Right? There's painkillers for that. There's that. So he's hanging your symptoms. He's no hanging the
Aye.
root cause.
Plaster
You know what I mean?
cracks,
Aye.
you know what
You know
I
what I
mean?
mean?
But they're taught that in medical
Of
school.
course, aye.
They don't go to the root cause. It's because back in the early 1900s, J.D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie, they started, it was called the Flexner Report. And after this Flexner Report, they started eliminating all the homeopathic and holistic health practitioners in America and started turning it into a business, you know what I mean? So slowly but surely all these natural remedies, and people need natural remedies, started going because all the funding was getting into allopathic medicine. So then all the universities were getting taught all that. So we find ourselves now, it's like there's no money and people cured. There's no money and people walking about vibrant. They need to keep us sick to earn a crust. And these people are getting richer and we're getting sicker. And even to what's been happening there the last few years, it's like psychological warfare. They've forced this upon us. You need to build back better. It's like the full world came to a standstill. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's fucking terrified, traumatized. It's on billboards, it's on radio. People are walking about with masks on their face. Everything's stopped. The airport's stopped. You need to line yourself to get this thing because if you don't, you're selfish and everybody's going to catch this thing. And they're playing on people's ignorance and not knowing how the cellular structure and how the human body operates. So people have done that. And now they're like, what have I done? Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to do that.
No, I spoke about it
Do you know what I
obviously
mean?
with you, John, and I didn't want to take I don't want to say the name because YouTube hang it, but I didn't want to take it and basically like get forced, like cause my missus was pregnant and stuff like that. And nobody's fault, do you know what I mean? But people kind of saying, no, you need to take it. Do you know what I mean? And I ended up like taking it. Do you know what I mean? So I feel as if my health has genuinely been the same since. Do you know what I mean? But listen, that is what it is. It's one of these things. But
It's a touchy subject, you know what I mean?
I know.
Sean, when you go on things like that, it's a touchy subject because people
lost a
believe,
lot of people a lot
of
and
course.
stuff, and there's a lot of people like it's one of these subjects. It's either you're that way, and as you say, you're not. We're not here to be kind of this, especially on social sessions. It's always about your story. It's not really. I'll put my bit in, and I do agree with nearly everything I've heard you say so far, John. So, especially with the legal side, I've never heard it said that way. You know what I mean? And all the time that I've known lawyers and I'm pally with people,
Well,
but I will look into it more. I will
you
definitely
look
look
at
into it.
lawyers have not got a clue. Lawyers are the worst of the
Oh,
worst
no,
because
no,
they
aye.
give their oath to the Bar Association. Do you know what I mean? So they can't go against that. They've made that oath and
I know, but you because you obviously talk about oaths and all that, and people signing their souls away, all this kind of stuff, which I do kind of believe, right? But that's another story. But it is all oaths because when you go into court, you take an oath on, you tell the truth, take an oath on this, take an oath. So it is,
it's
you,
what
you
they
see it all, do you know what I mean? You
So
see it.
your contract is your word.
Mhm.
It's like you get a affidavit of truth
Aye.
in business and in law. Your affidavit is your sworn statement of truth. So you're
Aye.
just saying, my name is John, or whatever it is your truth is.
Aye.
And then you administer that. As soon as that's out there, you get a lawful document to say that that's you instead of being identifying with this corporate fiction. But it's food for thought, bro. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Especially when you've done a law degree or you've been involved in doing these things and learning this yourself. It's called the Confucius Institutes, and all the education in this country, it comes from China. So it's all part, as far as I'm aware, that's what I'm led to believe. But it's interesting, even with we talk about the Masonic and all that, like people that are involved in that, people are not aware of what they've got themselves involved in, right? In my perception of this, I call it demonic Masonic, do you know what I mean? And it's all, I was in Edinburgh recently and there was a big get together, and I'm going to walk in here, do you know what I mean? But my camera ran out of battery, or I would have got this on camera, and I was like, what's happening in here, guys? They're saying, oh, it's a Masonic thing. And I says, what is the Masonic? So you're just playing along with them. And as far as they're aware, it's a good thing. They're doing good things. A brotherhood. It's good for the community. It's good for this, that, and the next thing. Little do they know who's higher than that it's not a good thing. You know what I mean? This isn't got your best interests at heart. You know what I mean? And there's people who are involved in it that are unaware of that. Do you know what I mean? And it's all about money. It's all about money. For me, it's all about how we can affect the next generation and put things in place. You know what I mean? But
see, with like money, right? Money's a weird one for me, John, because I'm only driven by money, right? I'm not saying that I'd love to like have this as my job or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to be doing this and have this as a job. I'm not saying I wouldn't like to be comfortable. And I think in the world that I would like to create, if I could create, I would. If you were good at something and you had something and you were in it, then you should be able to live a good life if you're helping people or you're building something or whatever.
I agree.
But why the fuck are you allowed to have £400 billion? What do you want? What do you need that for?
Crazy.
And why can you call somebody that's your saviour? This guy that's got £400 billion that could. It's like when there's so much child poverty and
it's backwards,
people
isn't it,
getting
Sean? Somebody,
crazy, mate.
I was talking to my wee nephew the other day and he was telling us there's a player, a young 17-year-old football player, £275 million.
That'd be Brazilian boy.
Is it the Brazilian? I don't really keep today with football, but I was like, kidding me on, £275 million.
I know.
I says, that's crazy money, you know, for somebody's. I do agree with you. People should be rewarded, but I believe energy is the real currency. How you can affect somebody's life, how you can upgrade them. My ma's got a business, right? And what they do is they do memory bells. So and I'm sometimes in the house and see the exchange, the energy exchange with that because people are passing on and they've got these old clays, right? And they don't know what to do with them. And they turn them into like wee bells. And see when people come to the door for them, if I'm sitting in the house, it's like people are just breaking down crying. Or I believe energy is the real exchange. That's the currency. Energy is the real currency. But obviously in our world, we need these wee bits of paper, fiat currency to it's worthless, it's no worth the money, it's paper it's printed on. And then we've got the crypto side of things now. That's even scarier. For me, it's scarier because you can just turn it off like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's my journey personally is, I know this is what you're about, is just about the story behind it. It's for like, I had to experience the darkness before I could understand the light. And I'm still a work in progress. It's like I had to crawl through the pits of hell to get the awareness of the stuff I'm aware of now. And I'm still trying to piece all this together. But it's all about service for me, Sean. It's always about how service, inner work, and learning, studying. Do you know what I mean? And that's my journey, and that's my journey, bro. Do you know what I mean? It's no.
See, like, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying you see yourself as a prophet, John, right? But I'm just meaning, like, see, if you look at like all the kind of main prophets and stuff like that, is what they do. They provide a service. Like Jesus, if you look at Jesus and you genuinely look at his story, he was a Protestant against the Jewish religion just by saying, like, why are you all rich? Why do we need to pay money to this temple? Why do we can get the same thing here by praying ourselves and doing our own thing? Do you know what I mean? So if you look at the Buddha as well, he got the opportunity. He was a prince, wasn't he? And he obviously could have went in that way and been a great warrior, apparently, where the story goes. Or he could have went that way and created what he done, do you know what I mean? And done, had nothing, do you know what I mean? Because when you've got nothing, you can't take it away from you. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard in this life because this world, you need stuff to progress. Do you know what I mean? And even for you with Merkaba Crusades, you need people to come in that's going to invest. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing with what I'm doing as well. The private members of the private education, it's no, you can't register or anything. And I've been aware of that for a long time because people used to say you should turn this into a charity. But I'm aware that if you even register as a charity, every charity is registered to the Vatican. Whether people want to accept that or no, that's the reality. That's no my opinion. That everything that we register, we're gain ownership away. So I've always been like this. I would never register something because I was aware of the registration. But it is to do with funding. It is to do with private funding, people coming in, and people. That's what I'm saying is about people coming together. It's starting to happen now. We're starting to see.
There does need to be a move. I've spoken to a few people recently, and I think there is pockets of people talking. Do you know what I mean? Like pockets of people talking about me. I mean, I'm probably know as far on like as you with my journey or anything like that, John. I don't think, and I'm still stuck in that political reading politics and trying to change people's opinions on the political scene. When I'm going like, I'm just trying to get people to wake up and go, don't vote for this. You know, you're voting for on both sides. They're both the same, but
Aye.
like you're getting conned here. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Okay.
it's there's two sides of the same coin. It doesn't matter what way you go here.
It's an illusion.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? But that's how the law side of things comes into it. Because this is just, it's like, that is the illusion.
Because see, when I studied law, right, there was a thing called the three pillars of society, right? So you had the executive, right? Then you've got the executive, the legislator, and then is it the enforcer? No, the judiciary, right? So that's the three pillars, right? So the legislator writes up the legislation, then goes to the government, who's the executive, and then the executive, they're supposed to enforce what the executive put out. So they're the enforcer, basically. That's the three pillars, right? But when you look at the way, I know.
Because the law is all maxims of law, things with the 10 Commandments. So it's about case studies. So if you're getting up against something, you reference a case study. You know what I mean? And you use the maxims of law. The maxims of law can't go against. If you reference a case study, then the judge needs to go along with that. So there's rules and regulations for the legal system, statutes, acts, and legislations. That's the rules are.
Like, so common law and statutory law, like obviously, like that's the two.
Trust law is the highest form of law, or
law,
you could say it's divine law. Do you know what I mean? But land, air, and water. Land is no loss, injury, or harm. That defines law. Land, no, is natural law, God's law. As long as you're not causing anybody loss, injury, or harm, you've no broke the law. The law of the air is ecclesiastical canon law. Trust law, the highest form of law. Everything's in trust. We're in trust. See, but and then you get maritime admiral law for the water. So maritime admiral law is what we see now.
Is that how they call it, like a dock? No,
That's how they call it, a dock, bro. It's like that's you're walking into the dock. It's shaped like a boat. Do you know what I mean? And then they'll say a summons. You're summoning the dead. You're summoning the dead because you're a dead entity in law. Your birth certificate is actually your death certificate. You get a certificate of birth, and a birth certificate. So your birth certificate is for a person, a corporate fiction, your birth certificate, and then you get your certificate of birth, your live record, your live birth record, that's for the living man and woman. You know what I mean? So they've distorted the full thing, and it is an interesting concept, because even you go...
Yeah, because I haven't right, I thought I was right down the rabbit hole, but it's like you're convincing me, if you know what I mean. Like I'm definitely going to look into this stuff.
Aye, and it's just the... I'll send you a few things here. You kind of because you'll get a good awareness of this, because you've already done the law, so you're aware of all this stuff. There's a wee guy I used to follow years ago, and his name's Romley Stewart. He's an Australian guy, and his channel's called the Justinian Deception, and it's interesting. Even it's called like things like double speech, and the Queen's coronation oath was it's called double speech. So double speech means that words can mean two meanings. So in her speech, she says insincerity, and people are saying, well, is it insincerity or is it sincerity? And there's a big difference. So she said insincerity, and she mentions the trust. I can't remember the full oath right off the top of my head, but that's a concept where they're tricking us. You know what I mean? So she's saying this, and think about the word insincerity. So that means deception, or sincerity, and that means like being honest with it. Do you know what I mean? But it's all to do with the wordplay. They've tricked us that much that
spelling into it, like he's spelling was like a spell into it. Like language is so powerful.
Bro,
and we spoke about that. Like obviously, we when you do talk about manifesting and stuff like that. And listen, I've had many people on here that were talking about manifesting, but that a boy called Aston Brown that was on yesterday, I was talking to him, and he was talking about Josh Taylor. And he was saying that Josh Taylor, every single morning, he says, I didn't know what he was doing, but every morning he would write world champion Josh Taylor, and he would say it every single day. He says, and this is when they were away at like the Delhi games and all that.
Aye. So he
says he used to do it, and he says, and he was a really hang about manifestation. And Aston was like, I used to think he was like, he says, no, I believe it. He says, but it took me a long time. He says, Josh was there. But Conor McGregor or not, like I don't like him anymore, right? But he was
He was
saying
the
it
same,
with
yeah. He used to,
Altidore and that. It's Jose
done it for
Altidore,
years,
didn't he?
didn't
I'm
he?
going to knock him out in the first
Aye,
minute,
that
done
was
it. You know what I
he
mean?
was speaking it before it happened, and that was
No.
inspiring to watch that. But he's obviously doing his own path
know.
now, you know. But it's like it's called the morphinogenic field. So
Aye.
when you are creating that energy and it's imprinting this morphinogenic field, it's that is the law of attraction. You know what I
Aye.
mean? And we're all capable of that, but it's getting ourselves in these in
I
the
know.
right state to do that. You know, and
It's hard in
you can
this.
do.
It's you can see, and that's why I really do like. I've got so much empathy for society because it's hard. It's so confusing what they're doing to us all. And listen, I don't have the answers, and I'm no
Nobody
claiming
does.
to be like. And we've all got an interpretation of what's
Exactly.
happening, but we can only tell our truth. And then if somebody resonates with that,
Of course,
then they
bro.
can come on,
Aye.
and then you can hang it. But a lot of people are stuck in that way where you even bring it up, they go, I don't want to talk about it. And you're like, how? It's like the way of the
triggers
world, do you know what I mean?
people,
I don't want to talk about it. And you're
You-
like my missus, right, who's my best pal. I love her, I adore her. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. She'll go, Sean, I don't want to know. Like I've got you to look after, I've got the two Waynes. That's my
Aye.
wee world. I don't need it now. Like just I don't want to know all the bad things that's
Aye,
happening.
some people
And
are.
I get it. But that's not me. I need to kind of look
Aye.
into things and all that. Do you know what I mean? And but I get why somebody would be like that. And sometimes I go, would I rather be like in that bubble? Do you know what I mean? And no have my
I
bubble
can
burst.
relate
Do you
to
know
that,
what I
bro.
mean?
Sometimes I think to myself, I don't want to know. I don't want this awareness. You
I
know,
know.
like, I'm still a work in progress. Don't get me
definitely.
wrong,
I've
right? I've not got all the
many
answers,
demons,
but
man.
sometimes I think I wish I could go back into a slumber
I know.
and no have this because I can't do small talk now.
I
See when
know.
people talk about football and I'm like, I couldn't care less about football.
Aye.
I couldn't. It's just away from me now.
Aye.
Where years ago it would be all I wanted to do, watch your football, get a bevy. So, you know, it's like I just want to talk about real stuff. Do you know what I mean? And
Aye.
how we can how we can change things, solutions to this. You know what I
Aye,
mean?
aye.
But isn't it an easy journey, and it does repel some people. And I always say you're either going to inspire people with your words or you're going to trigger them. And even more so in today's world, Sean, because these timelines are splitting more and more as the day goes on. So people who are still conditioned to this narrative, the government and things like that, it's like you could point this out to them in black and white and say, look, this is how things are working. Like, how can you not see this? And in the past, I used to get really frustrated with it.
Oh, I know.
Do you know what I mean? But now
I'm
it's
the
like
same.
just everybody's on their own journey and they're right where
Definitely.
they're supposed to be. Do you know what I
Aye.
mean?
And it's the same as like I know obviously you were saying about the CA and NA and all that, but I would promote the CA and NA to anybody who's broke. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
And if it works for them, it works for them. Listen, I've got pals that I don't know, John, that are in religion, and it works for them. Like
Whatever works for it,
so don't listen to me then.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Like you've got your
Aye.
own thing. Don't ask me a question that you don't like the answer
Aye.
back.
I agree with you,
Because
Sean.
sometimes people say to me about God, I'm going to church and why do you not come to church? And I go, you won't like what I'm going to say, so
Aye.
just leave it at that. And they go, no, well, what tell me, because I believe in Jesus. And then you'll go like, both you'll go into like Constantine, you'll tell them things that just wee things, or you'll go, go and watch Zeitgeist, just watch it. I know it's very, the kind of start of kind of looking at things, but they don't want to. As soon as you put it on, I remember, you'll know, wee Chucky, if you know, wee Chucky,
Aye.
right? I gave wee Chucky a book, and the Zeitgeist. I gave him it round. They came in, obviously Chucky's a pure Catholic, right? And he came in, man, I fucking hate you, big man. He went, I'm fucking sitting here questioning my whole reality. He went, what did you do that to me for? And I was like, mate, take
Aye.
it. And he was like, but it was funny, you know what I mean? We still laugh about it, you know what I mean, if I see him, but that's what some people are not ready, but then when they get, they don't want that bubble burst. But
Aye.
I get it. I get why you would want to stay in there.
Comfortably numb, some people, aren't they?
Totally.
And it is what you just said. I'm the same. I would never shun A or any and say, listen,
Aye.
that's a bad thing, don't go near that. Whatever's working for you, if it's getting you after drinking the drugs,
Definitely.
get on it. You know what I mean? Because it's
Definitely.
going to be better than the carnage and the destruction you're causing, not just for yourself, but your family.
Aye.
But I've always said it's like a stepping stone. That's the way I seen it. Because I had no other choice. I had to go down that path. But I was
Aye.
addicted to the shares. So what the shares done for me was it got rid of that victim mentality for me, because I realised, who the fuck do you think you are? Your problems are fucking insignificant compared to the people in these rooms here.
Mhm.
How did you get through that? So it got rid of that thing for me where I was always blaming everybody and everything else for my
Mhm.
problems, you know what I mean? And I believe it just needs shook up a wee bit. You know what I mean? It's like it's no the structure's good there, whatever and whatever works for people. But I would say a few add-ons onto it. Like
Aye.
or realising I don't know, but it's I've nothing against it, and a lot of people take it personally when you talk about the NA or the A,
I know.
you know, but that's their lifeline, you know what I mean? But
Some of the best people I know are 12 steppers, do you know what I mean? And they live that life,
of
and
course,
I'm like,
good on you.
go, I definitely like. I'm no here to like. I've got my own stuff, and I've got loads of demons that I've no worked through, John. I've got hundreds yet, but you've got to accept your part and your role and the toxicity that's creating. You're creating because
Mhm.
that's what you do in your head. You create that mental
Of course,
thingy. Do
aye.
you know what I mean? And then you before you know it, you're so distorted in the way you think and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And things become normalized. It shouldn't be normalized, and
Mm.
you're run about people that that are doing things, and you're not really wanting to be run about that stuff anymore. And you know what I mean? But you're doing it because it's all you know, and it's so hard for people. I'm not. It's like I really empathize with society. Do you know what I mean? But I just wish there would be more people would have a look
Mhm.
and just have a wee look and go, we are so powerful. See if we come together. Like,
See.
think about how much went into smashing the unions, smashing all these things that were, and that's us at a small level. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? But the way they went through them was just because that was like a threat on the workforce. Do you know what I mean? Rockefeller, as you were talking about before, Rockefeller's famous quote is, "I don't want a nation of thinkers.
Aye,
I want a nation of workers." Do
exactly.
you know what I mean? And that's what he's got to now.
That's
You know what I mean?
exactly what it is. Everybody's chasing their tail, trying to keep up with the Joneses. You know
I
what I
know.
mean? And trying to provide all this materialistic nonsense so they can give their kids all these things. And it's a Bruce Lee quote. It always sticks to me. I'll use this to the day I die. Don't give your kids all the things you no. Don't give your kids all the things you never had. Teach your kids all the things you never knew. And it's so relevant for this modern day.
Mhm.
It's like everybody's too busy trying to give them the new iPad instead of saying like, I need to teach you stuff, all the stuff I never knew. How to navigate through this more than ever before in our history. Knowledge is power and the truth will set you free. Ask yourself, set you free for what?
Mhm.
What do you need set free for? You need set free for being a slave in commerce to start with. And this dimension, because it's a 12 dimension structure we live in.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And we're getting regurgitated back into this. And that's my perception here.
Aye.
And now we're getting to a stage now where when you're coming back into this, which chances are you getting a divine connection and moving up these levels because it's all AI, it's technocrat. So it's everything that we see now is going to be when we come back here in another life. We're going to have a race of sub-servitude slaves that are connected to the cloud and lifetime after lifetime. Do you know what I mean? And now more than ever before in our history is to know thyself and know how this stuff works and to put this into your children. Everybody, I would say 99 or 98% of people that in this world, right, there's a small percentage that
Mhm.
are really vile, horrible people, right? But most people have got their kids' best interests at heart. They
Mhm.
want to see the best for their kids, you know what I mean? If you don't, there's something fucking wrong with
Mhm.
you. Simple as that. You don't want your kids to go you want them to have a better life than you experience, you know? And I believe now is that time where we break the cycle and actually give the kids a chance here. Because see, unless people actually stand up and guide this next generation to become the best version of themselves and transcend for this stuff to end and realise how much power lies within them, then it's never going to happen for them. And that's how I'm passionate about putting this stuff in place. So people are concerned about getting taught about transgenders and all that in
Mhm.
school. A 4-year-old kid doesn't need to know that. They
No.
can't choose their gender. They don't even know. Do you know what I mean? They
Mhm.
don't. They're babies, and they're getting into these schools, and they're getting cross dressers and transgenders coming in and reading them stories, and you can be Paul or Pauline, or you can be this and that. It's completely satanic, demonic stuff that's happening. And unless we realise that, and that people are starting to realise this.
That like Da Vinci always says, when you step outside the realm of hanging normal, like you will be the first thing you get is ridicule
Aye,
and hanging like David Icke hanging didn't he? I mean David Icke's a bit. I don't believe everything he says. He
no,
says a lot of the stuff he says is good, but some of it's mental. But Alex Jones, I know, is another one who I think's been bought. I mean, he's like he got fined £550 billion, right? He has. He shouldn't have a network.
Mm-hmm.
How's he even got a network?
Because he's a Mason.
Oh
The
no,
same,
no,
the same
aye,
as David Icke.
aye,
They're on the Masonic,
aye,
and they're controlled opposition. It's like a double. It's called a shill. So
aye,
there's a double agent, and they're everywhere. Everywhere
aye.
you wouldn't expect who's run about
Oh,
us.
Tate
It's
and all that,
Tate
and
as
Tate,
well. His dad
aye,
was
I
in the
know, I
CIA.
know,
Do you know
I
what I
know,
mean? So he's
I
not
know,
got MD's best
I
interests
know.
at heart. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
David Icke, Julian Assange, and that was a shocker for me, bro. Like,
Aye,
I went away down to Belmarsh and done a protest for Julian
aye.
Assange and done a big thing, went into the jail and videoed it and all that a few years ago, believing that this guy had people he was trying to
I always thought he
expose.
did. Did you know, John? No,
No,
no. Aye,
he's controlled opposition and
aye,
all, and that's what I'm learning now. Do you know what I mean? It's like the bloodlines for these elitists.
aye,
It's called they're called. Oh, come, is it a second?
aye,
It's what,
aye,
Leviathans.
aye, aye.
Leviathans. So
There's a bit
they
of that in the Bible, isn't there, Leviathans?
about
Aye, aye,
Leviathans. So the Leviathans they say that they're only capable of 10 strands. They've only got 10 strands of DNA with this Anunnaki stuff. It's like your bloodlines have all been genetically modified. And it is a bit deep, this type of
No, I
subject.
know,
A
I
lot of
know,
people are like, what's he
I know.
talking about? But I'm no got all the answers. I'm still learning all this
Mhm.
stuff. But but my perception on this is different bloodlines it's like the Anu Elohim and the Elohim.
Aye,
It's like these are the two sides of darkness and light. Do you know what I mean?
aye,
And the Anunnaki, they say William Wallace was Anunnaki. William Wallace was a giant. That's how
aye,
his sword was 7 foot. Now, what normal guy can pick up a 7 foot sword? Do you know what I mean?
aye,
And when I was there on Tenerife recently, the connection with Tenerife and Scotland is off the charts. Off the charts, bro. They say that the original inhabitants earlier were called the Gonchu people, and they were all Anunnaki. And it's got the same cross, it's got the same saltire,
aye.
and it's to do with ley lines. They say that Tenerife was the physical tree of life, and Mount Teede used to be a big massive tree, a big like
I
avatar.
love Mount Ted. I've seen we were up at Puerto de la Cruz no long ago. We went on a holiday there, and it's like higher up,
Aye.
and you can see TD
Nice
every
out there. It's
morning.
just a big hill,
Aye,
but
aye,
it's
it's
probably
nice, it's
hill.
nice. So, I
Tenerife
mean, it's no,
beautiful.
it's the weather's mental. Do you know what I mean? I remember, God rest Big Gary. You know what I mean? God rest in peace. But he was down at the south of the island, and he was phoning me, and I'm like, "It's raining today, mate," and he's
Aye.
like, "No, it's
It's the same
fucking, it's brilliant."
ecosystem,
I'm
isn't
like,
it?
"What?" I'm like, "It's fucking pissing down here." You know what I mean?
Scorching at the bottom. It's
Aye,
like that.
roasting. But no, it's an amazing topic, and you're right. A lot of people probably will get to this stage and they'll switch it off. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you'll get some people that'll watch the right, but there is a lot of people who'll be like,
Aye, of
the
course,
two
aye.
that lost the plot. But it's even if you don't believe in it, it's worth looking into. Like,
Mhm.
just read about it. Do you know what I mean? That's what I would say. Like, be your own teacher. Do you know what I
Be
mean?
your
That's
own
what I say.
guiding light.
Be your own teacher, and can I believe what feels right to you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Definitely,
what
aye.
feels right. If that feels right to you, if you tell me something that doesn't feel right, I'll say no, I don't
Of
think so,
course,
John.
you don't resonate
But
with
that doesn't
everything, you
mean
know.
that you don't.
Right or
Aye,
who's
do you know what I
wrong or
mean?
whatever.
Aye,
Everybody's got a different perception of this journey. We're all right where we're supposed to be, I believe, you know. And where we come from in the schemes and growing up running about crime and we were in Pullman
aye,
together at one
aye.
stage,
I know.
Sean, do you know what I mean? And you've got a certain people expect you to be a certain way, do you know what I
Aye,
mean? But if you're stuck in that, you're not happy, do you know what I mean? Like I
I know.
can't see people being happy in that, do you know what I mean? The money's not the answer to everything, you know, like the materialistic stuff. There needs to be a point where you say,
Anxiety and that, didn't it? Like,
aye,
is it? I mean, I don't know that I was watching a documentary the other day, and there was like a guy who was like a really really high up fucking like gangster. Do you know what I mean? And he had a panic attack when he got hanged. But I believe that's just because the stress and that kind of toxic stress that he's had probably over the years. Like, and then when he's actually just panicked about how much like it looks as if he's involved here. Do you
mhm,
know what I mean? But I think you hear that quite a lot. I used to say that guys in the jail. I used to say like people would come to me and go, "My heart and all that. I don't know what's happening." I says, "It's got a panic attack, mate, anxiety attack. I'm not scared of any cunt." I says,
mhm,
I'm nah." When they say, "Yeah, I know you're not." No, but so
aye,
I've not got anxiety then. Like, mate, you've got no
aye,
clue what anxiety is. Anxiety is no, like, you need to look into what anxiety is and how it's driven by fight or flight, this and that. Oh, no, I don't, all that shit can't be bought. So, grab a couple of Valium, feel better, into it. Like, that's the solution. So,
aye. Plaster near the
it's
cracks,
horrible,
isn't
do you know
it?
what I mean? But it is, it's the way the kind of world is, you know what I mean?
You get systematically made to feel. You can't help feeling. We're we are electrical magnetic beings here. Every one of us are. You know
Aye.
what I mean? We're having an experience here. You know what I mean? But it's all to do with emotions, energy and motion. So even when you're running about somebody, you can either I can hit and have a conversation with somebody, right? And I don't do small talk or anything, right? But see when I'm running about somebody and I'm having an engagement with them,
Mm-hmm.
I can either leave the engagement feeling like I've been robbed for my soul, or I
Mm.
can leave the engagement thinking, fucking hell, man, that's
Aye,
just
aye.
enlightened me there.
Mm-hmm.
I've somebody that's on the same page or similar.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can go back and forward without getting people, whatever, judging you or anything.
Aye, aye.
It's sort of day with energy, and we're all learning off each other. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But as I said earlier, nobody's got all the answers here.
No, no.
We're right at the
Mm-hmm.
we're right at the in the thick of it here, and
Mm-hmm.
we're all trying to just be the best
Mm-hmm.
we can be the best version. Some people are at like levels of perception the same as levels of awareness. People are just right where they're supposed to be in my way of
No,
thinking.
I agree with you, John. And I think, like, obviously, we're kind of coming up to the end of the podcast, right? And is there anything I've missed that you would love, you'd like to
See,
speak about? Because
see,
obviously, what the last kind of question is going to be about Merkaba and where you see it going. But is there anything that I've missed that
I've not even had a structure for this. You know what I mean? I've
no,
just
I had the same near
we've,
me.
we've
I
kind
never
of
even
just
made one up. I kind of knew it would do this, to be honest.
but just having a chat with you because
Mhm.
it's a good thing. I'm just being my authentic self, Sean. I'm no good. Didn't have any expectations for this. I'm just coming on this to more or less promote what I'm
Aye,
doing now with the
definitely.
kids. And if anybody's interested in coming along and seeing what we're all about, we've had our first event 2 weeks ago, and it's just kids with our parents are coming
Hmm.
playing wee games with the kids. I've had so many people reaching out to us about their kids in school and things like that, and I believe that I'm here to change the narrative, and I'm going to do everything in my power to put something in place like
Hmm.
a lighthouse for people, not just for the children, but for people with mental health and things like that. I'm going to
Hmm.
put things together as time goes on, but I'm focusing fully on now
Hmm.
and putting something, a private education association for our children so they can come along there and get taught about what's right and what's wrong. I'm talking about food wise and things like that. So if anybody is intrigued or anybody wants to know what we're all about, you can contact us on zetashield7@gmail.com, and that'll be, I'll just give you a brief explanation of what it is all about. And if people are in,
Where can people find you on social media, John?
I've got Merkaba Crusades and Alpha Zeta Fitness. I've got YouTube channels I've not really uploaded on that. What I've been doing recently is I've been out to Edinburgh for 5 days there. And I love to sit beside people who are on the streets, who
Hmm.
are gave up on themselves, who are stuck, traumatized, and and they're on the streets. Basically, if you're sitting on the streets, there's something seriously wrong, and I know it's happening up and down the country. But I don't date to give money out. I date and I just plank my arse beside them, and I'm just saying, "What's happening? How did you
Hmm.
find yourself in this situation?" Do you know what I mean? I can relate to it because I've been in the jail.
Aye.
I've suffered with addictions. I can relate to
Hmm.
these types of things, and what I notice is it's people get more out of sitting beside them and just try to light a fire in them rather than you giving them money, hanging on the top of them and giving them that.
Hmm.
And what I'm noticing now is that it's rife up and down the country, but especially in the cities in our country, Scotland first and foremost. The foreigners, and I'm no racist, are
Hmm.
coming into this country and they're getting the red carpet rolled out for them.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So they're taking everything, and people who are born here are suffering. They're getting shunned. You know what I mean? So it's just making problems worse. And I've had these.
Do you think that's a division tactic, John?
I think it is, mate. I think what's happening right now is just psychological warfare. It's like they're stirring the pot right now. It's just ready to explode. And the thing with the kids getting people taking pictures of the kids that's bounced into social media recently, that's another one. That's another part of the agenda because people are getting the hatred built up on them. But I always say to my mad the other day, there must be some incentive for them to do that. They're not just turning up and just doing this. There needs to be
Hmm.
something. They're getting money for the pictures or something. There needs to be something. But what it's done, it's dividing us even more. Do you know what I mean? Because
Aye.
everybody, it's like a cauldron, a bubbling cauldron, and I feel like it's ready to pop.
I
And
know.
people, I think a lot of people are aware of that themselves. You look at the fires, that's another thing. Like the climate change thing, that's
Mhm.
no pop, that's no arsonists that are doing that. There's people that it's called Dew. It happened in Tenerife when I was there. It's like this direct energy weapons. This is we're getting bombarded here, left, right, and centre, and it's for controlling us. It's to keep us penned in, and then it's called geofencing. So soon in the next upcoming whatever months, year, you'll not be able to go to certain zones, geofencing, so they've got you penned in with a frequency fence. So then you try and go to a certain place, your card's not going to work. So you're getting set, they're going to need
Like
a
Hunger Games
like
kind of thing.
Hunger Games, bro, exactly like that, Sean. So now we're going to see a big mass, something big happening, so they can implement central bank digital currency. So everybody, we're getting monitored what we're buying, our money's programmable, but then you're getting decentralized finance. But that's another thing. That's coming for the same thing. It's like the left and the right again. It's a psychological fucking warfare. People are saying, oh, I'm going to get into Bitcoin and something that's decentralized, when they're pulling the strings on that as well.
No.
In my perception, you know, I went through a wee phase there. I had to look into crypto and all that because I thought I don't even know anything about this. So I spent a couple of years looking into it and had a wee interest in it, and I still have put something into it, and it's starting to pick up now.
No, you need money. Listen, you need money in any. This is the thing. You can't. Merkaba Crusades needs money.
Of course,
Like you
aye.
can't. Unfortunately,
I wish I could.
You need money, and this is the thing. It's like we would all love to do these. You know what I mean? It costs money, but like so I suppose like I'm saying like how would anybody watching or anything that would like to maybe come and invest in or invest their time or anything? How would you go about that, John?
Well, recently, I'm not sure. I've not even, what I thought is putting a GoFundMe together, right? So I started filling all the GoFundMe out, then I thought I'm not even doing that because it comes along with a lot of problems. People start trying to control the thing, what you're spending it on, all that kind of thing. So I just thought, the first one there, I paid for myself. I hired the place. I go to games. I bought all this stuff myself. A couple of wee families turned up for it. Do you know what I mean? People who are aware and a bit concerned about even putting their children into school, because all you need to do is don't register them into school straight away, and then it's a private education. But I'm still on that path of doing that. I know a few people in the country now who have got organisations and it's funded by private funding, and they're doing brilliant things with it now because a lot of people are putting their money into something that's going to make an impact in the next generation, or impact on our food, or impact on things that we need to know. So I'm manifesting this stuff as we go as well. I'm trying to just visualise how it's going to turn out. Do you know what I mean? There's a time and a place for these things, and I believe that the right people come along at the right time. And I'm just continuing being consistent with what I'm doing and just focusing on service to other people, service to myself, try to better myself. But it's never been done for me to make money. This wasn't started for me to make money. This was started to try and make an impact in people's lives and show them how much power lies within them. But we need to get the kids. No, it's the kids, because some of the parents are conditioned to it. So if you get the kids, but as far as funding and that goes, it's just I'm still trying to work all that out as we go. Do you know what I mean? But
sure, off on the place. But so no, listen, John. I always give the person like the guest the last kind of message. So see if you've got MD out there that's maybe struggling with mental health, struggling with addiction, maybe struggling with that cycle of prison. What would you say if you got a message you would like to tell people? Like,
aye, I would say just still yourself, still your mind, and try and remember who you are, you know, like remember how powerful you are. Nobody's going to come and fix your problems. You need to be you taking the step in the right direction, because it's an illusion that somebody guru is going to come and put all the right things in place for you, even in addiction, even spiritual side of things, whatever your beliefs are on that. It's about energy, and you need to get your energy levels up, and that comes down to eating the right foods. If you're a guy or a woman, like semen retention, you need to look into things like that so you can conserve and channel your energy so your field is vibrant, and then your mental health will start getting better slowly but surely. But it's not something that you can do overnight. It's no, you took you a long time to accumulate or have these habits that you don't want anymore. So it's going to take a bit of time to reverse that. And you need to be willing to put the time and energy into yourself first and foremost. Be your own guru. Love yourself. Do you know what I mean? Treat your body like a divine machine, the way it is. And be careful who you surround yourself with. If you're at a stage in your life and you want to come off the drink and the drugs, and you're still surrounding yourself with people who are involved in that, it's like it's never going to work. You need to choose. You put yourself first or you put them first. You know what I mean? It's a healing journey or destructive journey. And my advice to anybody would be, it's solitude. Take a step back for it, or realign yourself. What do you want? Ask yourself, where do you want to go with this year? What do you want out your life? What's your future? What do you need to ask yourself the questions, because nobody's going to come and do this for you. And aye, that's kind of my message to people, is be your own guiding light and don't rely on people to fix your problems, because you're powerful and you're capable, and you're aye. It's just about taking that step for me, Sean, and showing and leading by example type of thing. And aye,
No, brilliant. Listen, John, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Brilliant having you.
good to
Brilliant.
have you on our show. Good
Brilliant.
to speak to you, bro.